So, I'm in Hawaii this week, and man, oh man, does another set of Bend highlights make me feel good about that. As with the men, the women had some serious additional wear on the start line, but check out Katarina Nash with the Lunachicks branded Puffy. To my knowledge, the company that makes this coat doesn't and has never sponsored her team, meaning a quick-thinking Nash or Lunachicks mech whipped up this one off to keep the brand out there. Nice. I also dug the full-face ski goggles on the line here. I couldn't ID the rider, and neither could USAC, it turns out, but if you can keep ski goggles from fogging, they'll definitely keep you warm. Unobstructed view of the start this time, and numb toes in cold springs can make for a rough clip-in. Stan's no-tubes Michael Dick slips off twice before finally getting going, and you might want to note for later the position of Cal Giants Rachel Lloyd. In the whole shot battle, it looks like Lloyd's teammate Elle Anderson gets off the line first, but reaches for a bigger gear and then seems to lose ground. I'm guessing she might have lost traction a little while trying to stand and drive on some looser snow. Nash, meanwhile, is out of the saddle the whole way but keeps a crouched position, holding her weight over the rear wheel to keep the traction high. Compare it to the fully upright positions of Optum Kelly Benefits' Crystal Anthony or Cannondale Cyclocross World's Katie Antonou. The result is an easy hole shot and a sizable early lead for Nash, but Anthony was ready to scrap, closing down the advantage and taking risks to do it, powering through a little front wheel slide on the first lap. If you think it looks snowier than it did for the men, you aren't crazy. Not only would the rest of the women's race and the men's course inspection push more snow off to where riders weren't riding, but in dry, windy, sunny conditions, snow will sublimate into water vapor pretty quickly, meaning the women faced rapidly evolving conditions compared to the shadier men's event later in the day. You could see this as Nash grabbed a little rear brake and half drifted through a corner after coming off a straightaway with too much speed. Anthony negotiated the bend with a little body English as well, but Anderson showed just how treacherous it was, losing the rear wheel and bobbling off the snow fence. More mayhem followed as Antonou, Cal Giants Meredith Miller, and Lloyd tried to accelerate around Marin Spy's Nicole Duke on this straightaway. The first two managed to get around in time, but Lloyd's late inside move, never a great idea, resulted in a run-in with the fence. Still, Lloyd, ninth at Cyclocross Worlds in 2001, was undaunted and used a series of straightaways to power past Miller and Antonou through the start-finish to move up into fourth place. Pretty astounding considering where she'd ended up in the start. But the race was up the road, with Nash opening a gap on Anthony, likely facilitated by a bobble on the Optum rider's part, as this tuft of grass hanging out of her handlebar plug would suggest. With the evolving conditions, charging back across a gap was an unlikely proposition. And while Nash did bobble once or twice, coming out of a pedal here, the serpentine sections of the course let her monitor her advantage and take more conservative approaches. Several low-risk steps ahead of the stairs versus Anthony's much tighter transition a few seconds later. Here you can see Nash almost creep through a corner that Anthony is later forced to take hotter and then dab. Still, she managed to keep the gap close, hovering around 10 seconds for much of the race, with Anderson settling in third about 15 seconds further down. While the gaps kept steady through much of the bell lap, with most riders seeming to labor a bit over a steep rise because, newsflash, it's hard to ride bikes in the snow, one last little bit of drama was injected as Anthony had a mishap just before the stairs, only a few hundred meters from the finish. But the Optum rider kept her cool, holding on for second behind Nash and keeping clear of Anderson in third. I'm Cosmo Catalano, and that's how the race was won.